So the Senate election in Texas between Cruz and O'Rourke is in about 3 months now. We're in the latter part of the campaign, the fall part, and I am going to predict that O'Rourke is going to lose. And let me just clarify that I really like O'Rourke. I think he would be a much better senator than Cruz. His positions are much more regulated by reality versus corruption, given the fact he doesn't take corporate PAC money. But there's a couple of problems that he's run into as a result of just having a campaign where it is. You see, if you want to, because I don't find fault with his campaign at all, but if you want to find fault in circumstances out of your control, look no further than the Alabama special election last year. Now, all these people celebrated about the fact that, oh, we made Alabama blue, we made Alabama blue. But you have to understand that when the claims against Roy Moore, the candidate at that time, came out, with credibility in some aspects to a lot of people, he was still able to only lose that election by 2 points, which means that if the Democrat, because Jones's victory in the Democrat in that election was the direct result of the Democratic Party's base of African Americans and other, groups coming out to support a member of that party. So basically, what I'm conveying to you is that even as all of these horrible claims came out against Moore, even as all of his positions got spotlighted and people condemned them, he still did not really lose any support at all. And what I'm trying to convey to people is that I think O'Rourke could go all around Texas and just say, "Oh, Cruz is bad because he got it," and it could all be true. But you still have these people who are so like this is what, and again we go back to why I don't like elections in a lot of cases. We have this partisan hack demographic, and I'm going to give you an example of it. There was a person who I spoke with. They live in Texas, and I said, "Oh, you're voting for Cruz, right?" And they go, "Yeah." And I go, "Oh, yeah, man. O'Rourke voted for that military spending bill, the one I mentioned being my sole issue with him, the 717 billion." She goes, "Oh, that's going to bankrupt the U.S. Got to get that." And I say, "Well, Cruz also voted for it." And she goes, "Oh, well, maybe he thought that would buff up the military." I said, "Wait a second. You just let Cruz get off the hook, but then you're not going to let O'Rourke get away with the same thing?" But also, there's another person I encountered, and they screenshotted the message their son had from the O'Rourke campaign. Um, and they basically responded to this message by saying, "I will never vote for a Democrat," or some kind of thing or whatever. And that's when you get, what I'm trying to convey is that I see many differences between O'Rourke and other Democratic candidates. The fact that he's not corrupt being one of the most obvious, but positions that are more in line with progressiveness, or just being a progressive. And when we get down to a point where all we can do is just bring up if you have a D or an R next to your name, that lets me know that there aren't enough voters in that state who are going to say, "I don't care about party, I care about policy," and they're going to read D and R, and then whatever logo or symbol that they like the most, they're going to pick it. And that's not something O'Rourke needs to be blamed for. It's not something that most of these other people who run can be blamed for when they have a campaign that energizes people. And that's something he's been able to do very effectively. But you can only manage to pull off what he's trying to do if you're able to energize Democrats all across that state. And what's the one of the problems that I can see coming out of him losing is the fact that you've had many times commentators will say, "Oh man, if we be more like the Republicans, we'll win. Be more like the Republicans, will win," and they'll basically say that this whole campaign was a failure. Nothing came out of it. Just blowing smoke, hot air, and that is sad because we need more candidates like O'Rourke. I told you what I didn't like about him, but the good far outweighs the bad. And I really hate the fact that the state he is living in is just like mine of California, where they will vote for anybody as long as they have a certain logo next to their name on the ballot. And that is why I believe O'Rourke will not win. But I hope to be wrong.